Yo, friends. It's been a while. I really didn't mean for it to be this long. I really thought that the NDAs would be lifted and the Mintversary, and I thought those things would collide into this perfect timing, and I could talk about everything all at once, and that didn't happen at all. And then I thought, well, I'll just wait until at least one NDA is lifted, and then time has just kind of dragged on for a couple of different reasons. But for you guys, I think it was important that we get some word out there that we are alive. We are working harder than ever, I would probably say. I would definitely say that. And things are going really well. But you wouldn't know because typically in the past we post updates, devs doing something, channel examples of what we're working on. But we have been so consumed by these NDA projects that we haven't had a whole lot of time for other stuff. There were a few other things over the past couple of months, which I will post, but for the most part, we've been working sort of in secret on some things that are they're great. To be honest, they're exciting, and I'm thrilled for them to be over. I mean that in the best way, of course, and I think they open up a new world of possibilities for us. But you know what? I always think that, really. So that's just a character flaw. Anyways, I think we should have a quick few words, which is to say, maybe just a quick 160 minutes about the year that was, because we haven't really talked about it. And on March 25th of this year, that was 1 year since we minted, which is kind of crazy. I was very proud of the fact that we were able to meet and slightly surpass the sort of threshold of the mint funds. Got rev shared back 2,222 SOL within the first year. I know that the US dollar amount makes that not as much of a win as it otherwise would have been, but I think in general, if you received in cash back within a year the value of every project you minted, you'd be a pretty happy person at this point. I know I would be. So I think we've done our part. I think when I look back on the year that was, there were a lot of ups and downs. A lot of them were out of our control. Some of them were within our control. We definitely made mistakes. But I think if you look at it as a whole, it was probably a 500 season, if you want to put it in sports terms. We probably finished, we were like an 8 seed, maybe just in the play-in. Maybe we lost in the play-in. Kind of like a Toronto Raptors of this year, kind of a 41-41 team, which is promising for a first year. As an expansion franchise, that's a promising first year. So, but I think if we honestly assess what went on in the last year, we can say we did a lot of things right and we made some missteps. And the things that we got wrong, it's on us to learn from them and take that information and build on that and either pivot or get better or both. So that's where we've been at. If we look back to the mint and what was, I wouldn't say it was full bull market, because leading up to our mint, we had a number of people that were telling us your supply is too high and you won't sell out. You don't have enough hype. You don't have enough connections. And those things are probably all true, really, looking back at it. And actually, we were so green. We, meaning the Jeff, Jay, and I. I'm not sure that I feel like maybe the first mint that we participated in was our own, which I do not recommend. I don't recommend doing that. We held other projects, but that was more of a means to an end in terms of trying to get some exposure and make some inroads. And Coach Funkel can speak to that, because I bought a Simeon's because I wanted to communicate with that community and also kind of get on their radar and get some of those people some whitelist spots and stuff like that. And so I did, and that of course was a horrible financial decision to buy into that project, which ultimately rugged. But the upside was I met Coach, so that was cool. And also all those things that happen where this project comes in, it's definitely a snowball effect. If you're out there and you're thinking about putting a project together, it's like once you get one that's kind of a known project, someone said yes to you, now you're laughing, you know? Because then, like for us, it was SMB. I would say once SMB took whitelist spots from us, then I could approach the other ones because they say, "Who are you? What? Who are you?" And I would just gloss right over that because I didn't think that helped us, and just go in to say, "Well, SMB thought that we were cool enough." And so we kind of went from there. So anyways, there's like that initial inertia that you have to get past of like everyone is asking, well, who else said yes? And once you get a couple in, you're kind of good. And so that our initial push, I guess, was based on trying to get the attention of these other projects, get whitelist, get diamond handed experience holders in, try and limit the number of flippers. And as everyone remembers, we had the DGods tweet, which I think pushed us into a hype stratosphere that we were not expecting and maybe not even prepared for, because we had a lot of people here for Mint that were looking to make a quick buck. The same people that are there for every hype Mint looking to make a quick buck. And it came in on the very last day. The DGods had asked us to, actually they had asked a few other animators as well to make animations for the launch of Dead Gods, transitioning from DGods to Dead Gods. And so they had asked a few people to animate something that represented this transition. And so we did maybe 2 or 3 of these for them. Money was never talked about, and so we finished them, and then we said, hey, like we got a mint coming up, do you mind like saying something about it? And they're like, yeah, no problem. Nothing happened. A couple days went by. I bothered them again. Hey, like, do you mind just a little shout? Could be anything. And they're like, yeah, no problem. Nothing happened. Mint day. I was like, hey guys, our mint day is today. You guys mind giving a little love for the work that we did for the animations? And they kind of went overboard. They called us legends, and they said they were really happy to be working with us. But at that point, like, our work was done. Like, we did the couple animations. It wasn't a big deal. And I was just asking for a mention. I didn't need to be like, I wasn't saying, yeah, call us legends and treat this as ongoing. So that created a whole problem in and of itself, where it was like, when DGods, and that's where the when DGods thing came from. And people imagined this to be a longer term collaboration, and we did end up doing more work for DGods, but it didn't move the needle monetarily. We did stickers for their they reached out to us shortly after Mint. We said thanks so much, that was great. And then they said, hey, can you make some Discord stickers for us? Which we did, and we made them for free. And in fairness, I never asked them for a shout out for that, which maybe I should have, but I know I personally would have shouted somebody out that did free work for me. But anyways, after that, we did do a little bit of work for them, which was paid, which involved the DGods cast. And so we did that, but there never really was like when DGods never really became a full thing. It was like post Mint, we did a couple really minor paid jobs for them, and otherwise we did the stickers, which we got neither public recognition nor payment for. So I think there were people that really thought that we were going to ride alongside with them, and they were misled. And for our part, like we definitely tried to tell people, hey, this is not, let's not get this blown out of proportion. This was a thing. It's limited, and it is what it is. And I think that throughout the year after that, we really tried to avoid this sort of, volatile up and down hype cycle stuff of having people who, um, having a floor price that rises and falls with outrageous claims, and people get wrecked. So we've really tried to avoid that and let's just be steady, and let's be steady and solid. That's like something that's missing in the space, and let's try and build a successful business. Any of you that are out there, it's tough. Like first year business, it's really tough. You're probably not going to make money, and we were able to rev share. That's great. Were we really profitable as a company? No, not at all. That's just the reality of it. But where are we compared to where we were? And I think to me, it's night and day. A year post mint, we have established a second brand, which is a chain agnostic animation services brand, which is 42 Hamsters. And now we find ourselves animating regularly for ETH, Cardano, and other chains. And I think that's really cool. Whereas before it was like, well, we're a sole project and we're trying to find our way. And, we ran into problems, ran into major problems through the year. Of course, the first one being the crash of the currency. A lot of projects that previously had money available to spend on luxuries like animation no longer had that treasury. So the treasuries across the board took a giant hit, all the ones that were not stable. And then that was followed up a couple of months later by another hit, which was on the income side, which was the royalty situation. You know what I mean? Where projects were like, hold on, we don't have money coming in anymore. It's not like the heyday when project like DGods was making $100,000 a day, and they could buy a basketball team and say, you can criticize us if you want, but 6 days later we made the money back through royalties. So that was a secondary blow, I guess. Really was like the treasuries took the initial hit for projects, and for us, as much as we're our own thing, we do need projects to do well. We do hope that projects do well, and they kind of need to be like, if they're doing too well, then they don't need us, and if they're already too far gone, then they can't afford us. So there's kind of a sweet spot for us, which is like things are kind of on the decline, maybe in some cases. Smart projects would get ahead of this, but for the most part, projects are like, they see floor price slipping, they need to do something to shake it up, and so they enlist our services because it's something that can kind of move the needle. That's what they're hoping for. Anyway, but if there are not that many projects that fit all of these criteria, which is like they have the capital, the timing is right, then what? Then you just don't have that many clients. So that was a big part of the decision to create 42 Hamsters and to look more aggressively at working with ETH projects and projects from other chains. And I anticipate in 2023 we'll work at some point with just about every chain out there, which is great. And I know for sure that we'll be working with a new chain in particular. So I'm excited about that. And I think that that's been a positive development, is to not be, we love Sol, we're never leaving, and it's the best chain. But as a services business, we have to look beyond that. And and offer ourselves out to others as well. It's just, we need clients and we need good clients, and that's been a strong move. I would say, something that other projects do a lot after they initially don't fail. Basically, as long as a project doesn't fail, a project is going to inevitably launch a second collection. And for us, our second collection was Camp Solana. The difference, of course, was that we gave the entire mint proceeds away with Camp Solana, and projects typically use the second mint as a capital raise, which we didn't do at all. We raised about 800 SOL, and we spent all of it on prizes. So it didn't have the sort of treasury boosting effect that secondary collections typically do. And that's okay, because we had a service that we were offering. We're getting paid for it regularly. And we were kind of just powering through a difficult market, a collapse, the loss of royalty revenue for projects, FTX. It's kind of one thing after another. And even once we started to talk to ETH projects in December and started to get serious about doing some work over there on the full collection side, the royalties, or lack thereof, like Blur, came out, and projects found themselves in the same boat on ETH that the Sol projects did, which was, we no longer have this gravy train of royalty money coming in, and we need to more closely guard our treasuries. And so we had projects that were, committed to doing something, doing the whole collection, and they were coming back and saying, hey, can we cut that price in half? And which is not ideal. So it was really, like, when I think back about it, it was kind of like just like a series of ball kicks, really. Is like and what's weird is that it was fun, but it was like currency crashed, then royalties went away, then FTX, then royalties on other chains went away, and now, miraculously, in some ways, through all that, we've wound up stronger and better and more hopeful, which is kind of weird. I think part of it is like, if we can make it through the year that was, then we're kind of battle tested and we'll be in great shape for the bull run. And I think that has a lot of merit to it. And I think that maybe it would be misleading and maybe even dangerous to have a full first year in a bull and, you do great and everything's easy. And then when you get hit with adversity, you're not even prepared. But I think at this point, we're definitely used to it. Every day you're kind of expecting the next round of bad news. Another problem thrown our way that we have to deal with in some way. So we're kind of used to that at this point, and it doesn't faze us the way that it otherwise might have. Also, like we've been around the block a bit, and we know how it goes, and we know that the first year of anything can be, is a building year, and you're not going to just like make money out of the gate. And I think you need to be in a position where you don't need it to, initially. And we were fortunate to be in that kind of position where we weren't relying on this to, for some financial gain. We're like trying to make something cool that could get there in time. And I know for sure it will, given what's happened in the last 4 months. But we need to be in a position to do that. And I think a lot of what happens, in the space is like there's reality checks all the time, and people realize that it's not, the reality is different from what you imagine. So as a founder, really, like, you're thinking about launching a project, and you're thinking about this mint price and this supply size, and you look at it and you say, okay, well, like in our boat, like we raised 200K US roughly from the mint, and you could say that's a lot of money, and that is a fair chunk of money. But if you are trying to build something larger, really, like, what does that work out to be? Like, you're gonna hire 4 full-time people at 50K each. Like, you're through it. Like, it doesn't take much, is what I'm saying. So it's like those ones. That's why throughout the year I look at these mints and I'm like, they're gonna raise like 300,000, 350. Like, it's not enough. Like, unless the team can just do everything, and it's kind of like a bit of a buffer, where they can not earn initially for a while. They can get up to speed. They can hire some, sort of like hire some people to do some jobs that are important, maybe have a bit of a float. That's great. Those are all good things. But the reality is that unless you're raising sort of like Klanos did, or some of these other projects where like they're raising 1.5 or $2 million, you don't have enough treasury to really do much. You know what I mean? In terms of like hiring outside people and doing that, which I think is, I don't know. You don't think about it that way when you're initially going in. You're just like, oh, it'd be great to have some money, and then we have some flexibility, and we have some buffer and all that. And the truth of the matter is that projects burn through that way faster than they anticipate, because it's just, in terms of like a larger, if it's as one person, 200K is a lot of money. You get 200K in your bank account today that you didn't have yesterday. That's a great day. As a project that's looking to become a company, that's looking to employ multiple people, you burn through that in no time. So I think that can be sort of misleading, and I think that happens a lot of times where projects are like, oh man, we got lots of money, this is great, and then like 6 weeks of payroll later, they're like, we're fucked. Shit. We're slow rug and we didn't know it. And that's what, we didn't want to find ourselves. We wanted to be a fast rug, but Jay and Jeff talked me out of it. Anyways, in terms of what's happening next, in terms of camp and pen friends, there's just so much going on at present, but our primary immediate focus is to get through these 3 projects that we're currently animating the full collections. It's been draining, quite frankly. I usually don't complain about workload. I love working a lot. I love working long hours. Kind of burnt a little bit at this point because we've been going super hard since Christmas. We do a ton of work that never goes anywhere, and I think this is worth mentioning. We have, through the year, we've animated so many samples for projects. They always want to see a sample. They'll want a quote and a sample, and we do samples, and most of the time it goes nowhere. Even if they love the sample, it's not about that. They can't make the money work. And this past December, we did 11 samples. We worked with a project. We were talking to a project, and they asked us for 11 samples free. And it took weeks to do them, really. And it was a huge gamble. This was not paid. They're free samples. And we decided to do that for free because we really wanted this client. And at the end of the 11 samples, they decided to go ahead, and we've been animating the whole collection ever since. So that was mid-December, and we've been working on it this entire time, which is crazy to think about. Financially, not worth it at all. Would have been better off flipping burgers. But these are the kinds of things that you have to do on the way up to put yourself in a position where it's like, this is an important one. This needs to be out there. We need to not only do this one, but we need to do it really well because it's such an opportunity. And there's going to be so many people that see our work here, and it's going to put us on the map on a chain where we don't have that exposure at this point. And we want that because we want to have a bunch of clients and be able to say, we'll do you guys next month. And, you guys can be in July, August, stuff like that, rather than, sort of hoping that someone comes along that can satisfy all the requirements of a good client, because we just don't have enough of them on Sol at this point. So, but that was a gamble. That was a gamble to do that. We were just coming off the gamble, which was the marketplace. As we animated for the OK Bears, the ABCs, and the Jelly Rascals. And in all cases, we were speaking directly with the teams. In the case of the OK Bears, the team approached us and asked about doing them. And, we thought that the many weeks of doing the work on those things that we would do well with the marketplace and offer immediate, affordable animations, and I think the response to that was entirely underwhelming, and we really anticipated more support from the teams themselves. We anticipated that it would be sort of like a big deal to the teams that there's this animated version and it's available and it's only like between $5 and $10, depending on what project it was. Relatively cheap. It's already done, so you just go and get it right away. To me, this seemed like a no-brainer, and I thought that the projects would really push that to their communities, and they didn't. Like not at all. Like the OK Bears, like they had an AMA on the day, a Discord AMA on the day that the animations launched, and then I was in it, as a Bears holder. They never mentioned the fact that the animations are of it, like not once, not a casual. I can't for the life of me understand how something like that would just be not on your radar to even mention. And so I look at that period where it was between, September and December, and it's like we spent so much time and Jeff did this amazing job building this really cool token gated marketplace, and we did all this work animating these collections, and it didn't come off the way that we had hoped, not at all. And we can look at that and be disappointed. We looked at it and said, okay, well, on the bright side, we've got all this tech. We have this entire system, which we use to this day. We use it for approval queues for our animations, which is really cool. This is a really tidy, beautiful system. But it also let us know, hey, we need partners. If a collection's not going to pay us up front to animate their collection, then they need to be our partner. They need to be motivated to promote us, because apparently us doing it for free doesn't warrant their mentioning it, or maybe they do a casual mention. But like with Jelly Rascals and with ABCs, they don't really have a team, so there wasn't really, you know what I mean? But with OKB, the community team was great, and they mentioned it a bunch. But the core team, OKB and the Jelly Rascals guys, they weren't out there saying, hey, this is great, go do it, and they were not incentivized. In fairness, they were not incentivized to do so, and so that was on us. And so that's, as we move forward, it's like these things need to either involve teams directly monetarily, and we've had discussions with projects about that, where it's like, you guys push it, we animate it, we'll cut you in, and everyone makes money, and the holders are happy because they still get cheap animated version of their tokens. So, but it's all part of the learning process. And even a fighting game that we made for the OK Bears Yacht Club, hilariously, um, like a lot of these projects that we take on, like they're, if you look at each one of them on their own, they're not worth doing. Like they financially not worth it at all. The marketplace projects that we did in the fall, this fighting game that we did sort of December through March, really, was not worth it at all based on what they paid. But what we gained from it was all of these, what all these tools that we built, and everything kind of, it becomes blocks that you stack on top of each other as we move forward. And you say, oh, I can take, this piece that we developed for the OK Bears Yacht Club fighting game, and these pieces that we developed for the marketplace, and these pieces that we developed for Camp Solana Customizer, and kind of spin them all together. And it's like, this wasn't wasted effort. It might initially look like it wasn't rewarding on a financial level, but all of these actions, all of this effort, all of this time that's spent is not wasted, because all of it moves things forward, in a general sense, and all of it builds on top of each other. They're all blocks that are going into the same structure at the end of the day. So I think that's cool. And we sort of look at these things and we're like, oh, we start to see it come together. I think that's really happened in the last month. It's like we're starting to see all of these tech things that Jeff has built come together. All of the things on the animation side that we've built over the last year, we abandoned practices and software that we used in the past and just wholeheartedly embraced new things, adapted them, built for them, amended them, built tools to bridge gaps. And now, like, we have a really nice workflow. And at some point, here we're going to start to be able to deliver for these projects that are not broke, but like just aren't very affluent, and still want to animate, and we don't have to say no to them anymore because we will have streamlined it at some point. So that's exciting, and all of it just kind of coming together is rewarding in the sense of, okay, that felt like, that felt bad at the time. That felt like it was a waste at the time, but it wasn't in the end. And I think that's important to sort of redeem the investment of time and effort that we spend in all these different areas. There's a real redemption arc for those things when it comes back to contributing in general to building the project and what we're doing. And I think part of that, or the next part of that, is on the pen friend side of it, and something that we're actively looking at and toward, is to say, projects out there, they tend to be very cannibalistic. Which isn't really another word for Ponzi, but like they're really drawing on their own holders. So like they pump out overpriced merch to their holders, they get money back from that, but it's not outside money, And even like the sort of hype mints and buying and selling, trading soul NFTs, you really have, people selling, dumping one project to go and grab a Mad Lads or whatever it is. In the end, it's bad. It's bad for this ecosystem. It's bad for individual projects. If you're not doing something that's drawing in people from outside the ecosystem, then what are you doing? All you're doing is shuffling the same pieces around the board. It's pointless, really, in the end. So that's our current challenge, is like, we want to do two things. We're building this universe. We want to grow it exponentially. We haven't had a whole lot of time for that because we've been so busy animating for other projects. But at every chance we get, we want to expand our universe We want to expand our holder base. And we don't want to do that at the expense of other projects. We want to do that from outsiders. We want outsiders to come in to the ecosystem or to another ecosystem from outside, be an outside source of capital, an outside source of interest. We have to make something that makes people want to come in the same way we all did, right? There was something that brought us in, and our charge as a project is to create an environment that people end up seeking out. How do we go about doing that? I want to do that. I want to know more, and how can I do it? And that's up to us to create that demand for outsiders to come in. Otherwise, I'm not big on this whole we create demand. It's like other NFT people just jump, lily pad to lily pad. It's not good. We need new people, and that's kind of what it's all about. So part and parcel with that is the Pen Friends. There's going to be an art change coming, but also there's going to be a rebrand at some point. Pen Friends won't go away, but it won't lose rev share. But in the future, Pen Friends is going to be a revered and the OG part of a larger collection of collections. And I think that's important for us to have, because there's 400 or 500 of us at this point. Eventually you'd like to be at the point where there's 400,000 or 500,000 of us. So we need a pathway to get there, and we need to make something where if you told your friend about it, your friend would be like, "Oh, that sounds cool. I want to check that out." And if you tell your friend right now, "Oh, there's this hype mint coming up," they're not going to care. You know what I mean? The barrier for entry is quite high right now, and we need to create a simple source of demand for outsiders to easily get into NFTs on the most basic level through something that's accessible and easy and fun and inexpensive, right? So if we hit all those things, we're kind of in good shape. Anyways, I want to wrap it up. This might be my longest one ever. I'm not even sure. Probably. If anyone's still awake, I applaud you. But yeah, like I was mentioning, these 3 collections that are under NDA, in all 3 cases, they're also collections that represent ongoing work through the year, which is a great thing for us because it sort of gives us a backbone, gives us a baseline of work where it's solid clients, and we kind of know that it's very up and down. It's very volatile. It's the market, as you know, in general, but also out there as a B2B service provider. It's really nice to have longer term clients that have there's some back and forth on throughout a year or hopefully even multiple years. So we have a couple of those established now, which I think is a very important in order to free us up some time where we can really push some of our own development, which we've been neglecting for so long. And when you see the art upgrades for Pen Friends, I think you'll be as excited as I am about them. Jay's killing that. And I think that I'm more bullish than ever. I don't want to overstate it. I feel like I probably mostly understate it, but we're in great shape, honestly. We have these collections that are about to come out. 2 of them are connected to each other, and they're going to be part of a major hype launch, which is really cool. And the third one is an ETH project. It's well established. It's one of the more valuable, more higher profile collections out there, and having many thousands of our animations out there. They're going to be all over Twitter, and I think it's going to put us into a different stratosphere in terms of exposure and notoriety, and also potential workload, really. And I think that we'll be in a position where other projects, as has always been the case when we release something, but in this case, other high value projects will approach us, and move things forward and just kind of snowball from there. So this is the first step. Like I said, it was not like these collections are not financial windfall, but it's important for us to do the work, not worry so much about money, do good work, and get ourselves in a position where, we've established ourselves as the go-to place. If you're a collection that wants to animate an entire collection, you go to us, and we try and make that as efficient, as fast, as affordable, and just as smooth an experience as possible. And I'm looking forward to when the first NDA drops, and I can start to show you guys some footage of like our approval system, and just some of the tech that goes into not only the animation but also just like the reiteration and the review system. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. So anyways, from all of us to all of you, for the 1 year plus that we've experienced so far, I want to thank you guys for holding on, for those of you that have been here since mint and those of you that have joined us along the way. It's just awesome to not get burdened, because I know initially we did, where I was checking Discord all the time. There's be people upset, and it weighs on you. It can't not weigh on you, where you think about it, and that sort of gets in the way of being able to concentrate on what you should be concentrating on, which is, in our case, animation and things of that nature, and not so much on making sure that people are cool, or up to date with where we are, or on board with our current plan or anything like that. And I know it's been really tough over the last few months because we have been very quiet, but that's not by choice, and that's certainly not because we weren't putting in the time. Certainly not because of that. So I hope this never happens again, where we have 99% of what we're doing is we can't talk about it because I don't like it. But at the same time, if we do find ourselves in a position where we are working on under NDA, typically it's a good thing. It's a good project. And so in that way, I hope there's more. But anyways, we are 98% of the way through this current collection that we're working on. When it's done, which should be within the next 4 or 5 days, I expect the NDA to be lifted. I expect the animations to be out there. And I expect all of us to be like, hey, that's us. Hey, that's so. We knew all along that we were awesome. And now you guys are just finding out. To all those poor non-PFers. Oh, also, I did want to mention something that we are working on as well, which is on the camp side of things. Camp season 2 is coming. We have to get these out of the way first, but also something that's important is that we want to, and I know we've always said we're against staking, but I think staking makes a lot of sense in terms of camp, because it gives you incentive to hold between sessions of camp. And so you will receive a token that will have a few different uses within the camp environment. The number one, of course, use of that token would be free items from the item store. So those of you that stack campers, those of you that faithfully hold campers, you will be rewarded within the subsequent seasons of camp by receiving or having available to you items available for the token. So this is like a little reward for you guys, which is important, and we appreciate your patience on the camp side of things. Yeah, it's gonna be great. There'll be more of that, something similar to that a little bit on the Pen Friends side too, but one step at a time. So this is enough of a chunk out of your lives. I'm sure more than enough of a chunk. And anyways, we'll talk soon. As always, pen friends for life.